Time for Here's the Deal, and tonight Marcella Monroe, Dara Parker, and Leah
I answered that too.
Dara checks in here. Let's start off with the gross grind. Is it time to ban the people who cannot grind from the grind?
No, that's ridiculous. I think we should ban sugar and cars and poisonous snakes before we ban people getting on the grind.
Really?
Absolutely.
I think you should have to have proper running shoes and proper attire and have a water bottle with you. I don't think that's too much to ask.
Well, except, are you going to police the grind? Like,
yes.
I live by Stanley Park, and let me tell you, there's a lot of people I'd like to ban from riding their sports bike around Stanley Park too fast and swerving in and out of kids. I mean, I don't think you can ban it, but people should know your limit and play within it, essentially. Like, the grouse grind is not for the faint of heart. You shouldn't be doing it on a weight loss program when you weigh 100 pounds over your weight.
But people are overestimating their own abilities, and I think you need to have some sort of checks and balances to say you're not up to it.
So why are we policing what is presumably one of the more healthy activities rather than policing our sugar intake?
Because you don't want somebody to die. You don't want somebody to get lost in the dark and injure themselves because people are stupid.
Okay, so more information. I'm a big advocate of let's have some big, clear signage that say, says something like high heels are stupid on this trail. I support that. But ultimately, do I want to put resources into policing people making silly decisions? No.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, would you support if they said, if you do not have proper attire and you need to be rescued, you then have to pay for the rescue?
Probably.
Right, but the rescue guys won't go for that.
No.
Right?
No, well,
because
actually, it's just not a good public policy.
I know, it gets complicated. It's not good public policy, but my instinct is like, yes, if you're making poor decisions, you should probably pay for that.
Don't you think part of it is just having conversations like this where people understand what the grouse grind is? I mean, I think some of the time, at least, it's people who go up there just don't get it, right? They don't understand the steepness of it or how long it will take.
And I don't think you can adequately describe it to somebody. Clearly you can't, and particularly if you're standing at the bottom of that hike, climb, whatever it is, torture.
That is what it is, Jill.
See, if you're like me, you just stick with the Stairmaster and know that that's, basically where you're at and not bother yourself driving all the way to North Van to do the grind.
We're selling it as a tourist destination, as a little attraction, and I don't think a lot of people, I think the website makes it sound like this will take you about an hour and a half, and if you've got a bottle of water, you're fine, and I think it's more serious than that.
I don't know if that's true. The website actually has lots of warnings. This is an intermediate advanced hike. You need to be prepared. Don't do this without proper footwear.
If you need to take a break, stop and take a break.
Yeah, the website's doing a good job. Maybe the mythology around the grass grind is, a little more fluid.
All right, let's talk about the rich getting richer and the middle class being shoved down below. We had that $55 million condo bought. It's kind of 3 floors. It wasn't just one condo, but of course they're wealthy enough they're going to put it all into one, put a few stairs in. And there's not affordable housing in Vancouver.
Well, first of all, I mean, this is a problem in other parts of the country, so let's not single out Vancouver as the bad guys here. But we know we have a place where a lot of people want to live, and so what that means is real estate prices have gone up. But I also think we have a mayor and a council who've done more than any previous mayor and council to look at affordability. The first thing Gregor did when he was re-elected in 2011 is to start an affordability task force. They've just been brought into line about 1,000 units of what's going to be affordable new rental stock. But there's limited tools which the city has. And what bothers me, Jill, is that you have, like tonight, there's a protest against density in areas of the city. Well, some of the same people who are protesting are also complaining about affordability. Listen, I think we have an affordability problem, but you need to be able to make a trade-off. And allowing density in those neighborhoods is one of the ways we're going to get more rental stock. It's just a fact.
Yeah, but we're doing it sort of on the backs of taxpayers because the builders, the developers who are creating these, low-income-ish housing, they're getting huge kickbacks. I mean, they're not having to pay business levies.
I don't think that's actually true. In fact, in the case of
$344,000 on one project and $328,000 on another.
In the case of last night, the project that they passed, there's a couple $1 million from a couple different projects that are actually going into the affordability fund. So I think that, again, there's different levers that the city can use. There aren't very many of them, and I think they're using all the levers they can.
Do you think we need closer or better ideas about what affordability is? Because $975 is what the city had put, but the projects that you just talked about, Jill, are, the rent is starting at $1,200 and going up to $1,700 for a 2-bedroom. So
when you hear what median salaries are, $34,000, $50,000, break that down. That to me isn't somebody who can pay $1,500 a month in rent.
No, but that's not a problem that the city has a lot of levers to address. I have to echo what you said, that what they did was incentivize rental-built housing, purpose-built rental, which has not happened in this city for 20 years because the market hasn't supported it. And so the affordable question, this is an unaffordable city, but I think we need to reframe the conversation and look at provincial and federal government. Really, housing is a provincial responsibility. And I think the city's taken a lot of initiative in trying to address what they can, but they have very limited mechanisms.
All right, speaking of housing, let's talk about the perks MLAs get.
Pretty juicy.
They
I guess
are.
if you want to be an MLA, it would be great.
Right.
Who
So do you
wants
think
that
that's the
job?
trade-off, that nobody wants the job, so you've got to make the peach ripe so that they bite?
Well, there is an argument to be made that actually our MLAs, if you kind of equivocated what they do as a profession, are probably not paid market. So that's part of why we see these perks. Do I think they should be receiving a monthly allowance when they haven't sat for more than 36 days in the last 18 months? Probably not. And there's probably a way to structure that kind of, we're going to make sure that you have a roof over your head when you're in Victoria, without them getting the money regardless of whether they sit at the ledge or not. So I think there's probably some problems in the way that, in the way their compensation works. But I do think we have to remember that as much fun as we like to make of politicians, and I say this about all politicians, even the ones I wouldn't vote for, they work pretty hard for $120,000 a year.
It is surprising, I think, sometimes when you look at the salaries, when you consider that they need to be available to the public and in their offices, in their home constituencies, and then travel. As exotic as it sounds, traveling and staying in hotels kind of wears thin after a while. But I wonder, the per diem is $61 a day. Is that sort of an average, do you think, in sort of corporations nowadays?
I think if you work in private sector, you're making more than that in your per diems, because an executive lunch that they'll expense is going to be more than $60. So I think the $61 per day diem is reasonable. One of my colleagues had a good suggestion around potentially housing all of our MLAs in a dorm room, like
I
maybe
was
building a
thinking the same thing.
dormitory.
I love that. MLA dorm.
A barrack?
MLA's got
on the back of the
wild.
legislature.
Yeah.
No one would
Some
run.
shared
Be like, you're
bathrooms?
going to live in a dorm.
But a lot of
I'm
them house
teasing.
up together anyway. I mean, most MLAs, this is not the glamorous part of it, right? You have to understand, most MLAs do live when they're in Victoria like they're students. So there's
College dorms.
2 or 3 of them in an apartment.
Right.
We're not talking about them living high in the hog at the Empress.
No, but without a receipt, you can just get about $1,000 a month, no questions asked.
But could you live on
living in your car?
$12,000 a year? I mean, $12,000 a year is
No,
not
I
a
just
lot.
mean for housing.
Yeah,
And then
so it's,
61
You
bucks
got
a
to
day
get
to eat.
short-term housing, where if you're going to be sitting in the legislature month on, month off, clearly in this case it hasn't been, but $1,000 a month isn't going to get you an apartment.
And as a result,
But
most
no
of
one's
those MLAs are
subsidizing-
renting one right
yeah,
now.
but no
when
one's
they're not in
subsidizing where
Victoria.
I live by $1,000 a month. I just maybe wish that was happening. So.
Well, I wish they were working more than 36 days.
Oh,
a year.
yeah,
I
well.
think that's my issue, is
All right.
why aren't we in the House right now?
Yes. Sorry, ladies, out of time. Dara Parker, Lee Check said, oh my God, I'll be lucky if I can get out of the show alive. Marcella Monroe, thanks for being here, ladies. Still ahead, Vancouver City Council Adrian Carr on affordable housing or a lack thereof in Vancouver. We'll talk to her right after this.